I'm Noel Massie, retired Vice President of U.S. delivery operations for UPS, where I was for 42 years. And today, in my next chapter, I'm an author, and I'm the author of the book, Congrats, You've Been Promoted, published by Simon & Schuster.
Diversified game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, my guest, you heard it, author, retired, he put his work in, and let me tell you, when you come from Oakland, California, like we do, to say that you are able to retire, when you've seen folks retired, many decades ago, you had to go through a lot of steps to get here. You had to go through a lot of blocks, a lot of just foolishness and nonsense. I was just happy to hear that he had got a book deal when his publicist sent this to me. And I'm ready to get into the game to show you how he started, how he sustained, and how he succeeded, because I want you to. I want you to not have any excuses. Because when you come from the town and you can turn it around, you can preach to everybody. So, Mr. Noel, Sir Noel, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Kellen. How you doing today?
Man, I'm blessed, man. We're going to try to make this as spicy as some Everett and Jones hot sauce, as sizzling as some, if you can remember this back in the day, some S&S seafood. That's how we're going to try to make this one.
I remember all of those things, Kellen. So I'm looking forward to our conversation over the next 30 to 45 minutes, and hopefully we can make it hot for you listeners.
Okay. And that's how you know somebody's from Oakland, because he said S&S, what's that? Because I've had some people, I say, maybe you were in Emeryville or somewhere, but you weren't.
Right.
So, yeah. Well, tell us, about the book, and you have a YouTube channel too. So if we miss anything, or if you feel you guys did get fully full up this conversation, his info will be in the description, and go give his own YouTube some love. But, the book, I'm going to start from where I usually end. Was that the community give back to the people? So you can say, look, I left it all out on the table. Here you go. What was the purpose?
Yeah, there's no doubt. The purpose of the book was to help young, newly promoted, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Millennial, and that cohort of leader start their journey, which I believe is the first 2-3 years of a leadership career, so that they are able to navigate those first, which I consider to be the toughest 3 years of the journey, successfully. Bottom line, it's a legacy that I wanted to leave to that cohort. I have 2 sons, one's 30, one's 32. So I relate very clearly to that age genre, particularly with them and their friends. And then, of course, as a Vice President of U.S. delivery operations, I had about 12,000 managers and supervisors I was directly responsible for. And we were losing them at a high rate in derailment in their first couple of years before I retired. So my ideation around the book came from what I saw, and of course, what I wanted to give back to the young leaders. Bottom line.
Ready to dominate your industry with strategy that actually scales? At Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm, we're not just PR experts, we're licensed sports agents certified in AI and elite business consultants with over 2 decades of experience leading global projects across multiple countries. Visit cprfirm.com, that's colemanprfirm.com, and millionairex.ai. Then download the Millionaire X app, your AI-powered guide to getting out of debt, investing smarter, and building generational wealth. Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm. It's a family business. It's different.
Okay, and when mentioning your sons, I have to throw it out because people, his sons aren't living with him. One is a medical doctor. The other one, I believe, does behavioral health. So you have 2 successful sons. So that makes you can speak on as an expert on how to raise some good kids. Because, wisdom is at an all-time low right now. So we need books. And I hope Clary sends me the book, because I did not get it yet. And maybe it got stuck in the mail, but I even take the ebook because I read a book a week. But can you tell us, with the book, if somebody's right now sitting maybe in high school, maybe in college, is this the book for them to get ready so they can be ahead of the game? Or do you need to be at your graduate level or where you're, you got your first job? Who is this for so they know, okay, it's not too early for me. I can read this book.
Well, that's a big question, but let me answer it a couple of different ways. The book is for any individuals who are running a small business and they're promoting new leaders, because the one thing that a donut shop has in common with a Fortune 50 company, someone's going to be the leader in it, right? There's no such thing as a business model that doesn't have a leader. When there's more than one person involved in an enterprise, someone's going to be taking the lead. So number one, the book is for any individuals promoting leaders, not just for the promoted leader. And the reason for that is congruence matters. How we see things similarly is important. And so what I've had occur, the book's been out 4 months, is I've had a number of small business owners buy a few dozen copies of these books to give, not only to read for themselves, but to give to their teams so they have congruence. Here's the point I'm making. The book, in part one of the book, Kellen, I talk a lot about the importance of value-based and intentional leadership and why that matters. And you can hear that. It sounds great. Yep, good. But I put real examples in the book for leaders to understand. The ones I saw when I was in that age group is that you're going to be doing your job. You got promoted, boom, right? You were a forklift driver yesterday. Now you're doing a great job. And the company says, hey, well, Kellen, we're going to make you the supervisor for these 9 forklift drivers that incidentally you used to work with, right? How do you navigate that? Number one, I talk about it. Number two, you get a forklift driver, you're 27, 30, and one of them 60. And you ask that person to do something. They go, no, I'm not doing that. No. Okay. They come at you hot. What do you do in that moment when the other 7 are watching? So in part one of the book, I talk about intentional leadership, how to set the terms and conditions around a relationship. That's a foundational concept in the book. The terms and conditions of value-based leadership. Everybody has terms and conditions. Kellen has terms and conditions. There are things that Kellen must have in a relationship to be in that relationship, or he will leave that relationship. Same thing happens in the workplace. That being said, I talk about intentional leadership. And as a young leader, what's really important, you need to set the tone with the team that's professional, that's respectful, and that has integrity and ethics as a foundation. How do you do that? So I talk about how to do that very specifically. And then I talk about other tactics later in the book, which we can get to later if you want. But the point to the question you asked is that the book creates congruence between people. At the end of the day, here's what's going to happen. We're going to have integrity. We're going to have tough days, hard days, long days, rough days. Here's the day we're never having, team, the one that lacks integrity. We're not having that day. And as your leader, you can trust that if you ever see a question around that, I want to know about it. Come talk to me about it. If it's not right, if it don't feel right, it's not right. If there's any question, there's no question. I'm your leader. At the end of the day, you can rely on me in that way at all times. Those are terms and conditions statements, and they're intentional. Okay. And so I teach the new leader, like, you don't wait for a bad moment to show up. You prevent that bad moment by using intentional words with your team to set the tone immediately in the beginning. Right. And so that is really the premise and foundation of who should look at the book, who should buy the book, are any individuals involved in team-based organizational development and leadership, not just the newly promoted leader, but that person's direct supervisor or boss or owner or whatever, if you will.
With a lot of leaders, especially young leaders, everything is me. I look at what I did. You also are quoted to say, you've never had a bad day. And I feel that 100% because we're here, right? But what do you think the most number one, mistake leaders are doing, young or old? Because we hear all through, as a kid, people would say people hate their jobs. I didn't see that in my house. My parents liked their jobs or they did other things. Now they were both educated and they had options and they made a good amount of money to live in that Bay Area. But what do you see like that number one mistake right now, especially with the IG TikTok generation?
Well, that's a big question. The number one, but there's a lot of mistakes. Which one of them, number one, is tough, candidly. But the thing I would say is immediate gratification and the expectation that you're going to have immediate gratification is a falsehood. You have to work hard for anything you want to do, want to be. The thing I said to my two sons, and I say this to young leaders, I have 6 mentees. I keep the number at 6, and they're all under 40, where we get on a call, just like you and I are doing right now. We actually just shoot it around for about an hour, and they hit me up with questions or whatever's going on in their lives around dynamics of business, et cetera. And we just kick it around. But the point is the same thing I say to them, I say to that question, that young people on the journey of their career, whether they're in college, just left college, that doesn't really matter, is this. First of all, whatever you do in life, do what you love doing in life. Do what fits who you are. Don't shape yourself to other people's expectations, period. When you wake up in the morning, if you make chairs for a living, if you love making chairs, that's what's important. Be the best chair maker in the world, period. Okay? Focus on that, and other things come to you because of that. You can't force something to occur. You can learn, you can work, you can develop, you can't force. The other point is you can't hope to get more than you give anything, right? So if you want to be great at making chairs, then you need to give whatever making chairs needs done. If you want to be a great anything, you need to apply yourself to it in a very professional, direct way, and it'll show up. There's no question about that. One of the most valuable things I ever heard around that concept that you can't hope to get more than you give is that at the end of the day, other people will judge you by what they think of what you do, not what you think of it. Okay, your opinion is the least important opinion when it comes to how well you're doing something, right? You think an NFL quarterback wants to sit on a podium and say, I'm amazing. I'm great. I know we didn't win the game, but it wasn't because of me. I'm doing a fantastic. How long? Hey, a quarterback actually did that. That kid, Zach Wilson, for the Jets. In 30 seconds, his whole career blew up because he got on the podium after a loss. And the reporter said so, and I think they scored like 9 points or something, or, the defense held the other team to like 12 points, or it was a low score game. But they lost. The reporter said, so Zach, you think the offense could do more to help the team win? And he went, nope. Okay. He wasn't the starting quarterback the next week. Okay. And then a few weeks after that, he got traded because he didn't take ownership for what it was he was responsible for. So, so there's a lot there. So when you talk about with young people, the falsehood I see is nothing's really changed. You know what? Here's the thing. Hard work today looks like hard work 50 years ago. Trust today looks like trust 50 years ago. Integrity today looks like integrity 50 years ago. And all of them matter today, just like they did 50 years ago. They're never not going to matter, okay? Let me tell you what AI can't do. It can't look you in the eye. That matters. It can't shake your hand. That matters. It can't tell you the truth in a way that says, I'm giving you my word, I will do X. That still matters. Those are behaviors that will drive success. Those are the behaviors that will get people to engage with you genuinely, honestly, and that's what drives success. But wake up every day and go to something you want to be. And that's the advice I've given, my son. You talked about my youngest son, and actually he's the entrepreneur in the family, okay? He actually is a behavioral therapist for kids with autism, right? That's the thing. He loves doing that. He wouldn't do it if he didn't love doing it. But he also has a production company. He has a home studio he created. I talk about that in my book. He built it personally. He has his master's degree in sound engineering from the Berklee College of Music that he purposely, intentionally attended and went to because when he graduated, he has a degree in psychology. This is a great example of what you talked about. So he graduated from a university in D.C. with his degree in psychology because he was going to pre-med, blah, blah, blah. My older son is a doctor and my youngest son was going down the same road. But then he sat down with me and my wife his parents, he say, listen, I appreciate all you've done for me, but I want to go into production, music production, engineering, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I said, I'll support that as long as you are the best you can possibly be at whatever you choose. We'll get behind you. So he went to Icon, down in Los Angeles, because I know you're in Oakland. He went to Icon, studio production for like a year, a school for like a year that he spent 25 grand out of his own pocket for when he was 23. And then he went to Berkeley College of Music, got his master's degree in the same, and he built a home studio, blah, blah, blah. He's been working on this business now for 7-8 years, and it's grown and is getting better, and he's earning revenue, blah, 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 but he's applied himself to it. So my point is, he loves doing it. I have no doubt he will be very successful going forward, and one day have the studio he wants, the business he wants, but love what you do. Don't get up to drudgery. Love what you do. And that's what I say to young people. And if you don't love what you're doing, continue to look for an opportunity to do what you love, because then you will truly wake up motivated every single day. That's an important ingredient in life.
You know, we heard that as kids. And then what I hear from people, and in my real life, I do consulting and PR and whatever else. But people say, we got to put food on the table. And that sounded good, but, you know, I got this degree and I can't find work. So I have to do whatever, you know, puts food on the table. What would you say to the person who says, look, I'll have that love. How can I monetize that? Do I have to become an entrepreneur? Do I need to get under your mentorship, even though I might be, you know, a few years older and had a colonoscopy already, but can I bother you? You know, how do they put it together? Because you have the wisdom and the experience to, you know, help them out.
Well, you're right. You know, you have to eat, right? You know, we got to wake up in the morning if you want to be successful. Independence matters, which means not being dependent. And it's no different again today. You know, reality is reality. I had to eat as well. I went to college. I worked at McDonald's. I had to eat. I had to put food in my own body. You know, I shared a room with my older brother. We went to college together, but I had to eat. And at one point I had 2 jobs when I was 20 years old. And the fact of the matter is that I still didn't abandon the things that I wanted to become, which is, candidly, I went to school for 4 years to be an electrical engineer, 5 actually. And I was offered positions in the engineering arena and I didn't take them. But I spent 5 years studying to become an engineer. And at that time, and I'll just say it this way, I was working at UPS part-time. I was about to accept a job at Hewlett-Packard. And the organization said, hey, listen, kid, you know, we like what you're doing. We're going to offer you something more than what you have today if you can wait a few minutes for that. But leadership was something that fit who I was. I was in a part-time leadership position at the time. And I was doing that part-time leadership position, putting food on the table, going to college. And I was also doing another part-time job at a furniture store. The point being is I didn't abandon wanting to be in a leadership position on any level just because I needed to put food on the table. I did what I had to do. And I don't think that's changed today. I think if anyone believes, I don't care if they're young, old, whatever, if anyone believes that you're not going to have to sacrifice in order to get, you can't hope to get more than you give, then they're just living a fallacy. You know, that's not a reality. That's just not real. You're not going to go to college, be 22, graduate, and all of a sudden you're at the top of the game in whatever it is you want to be. That's not how the world works, okay? It takes sacrifice, sweat, being at the bottom, drudgery, so that when you finally get there, you appreciate what getting there looked like, okay? That's just how the world is, you know? And I think one of the problems for young people today is there is this narrative that you can no longer have to sweat and still get there. That's just not true. That's just not true. There might be 2 or 3 people that get that done that way, where they just fall into it. It just happens for them for whatever reason. Right time, right place, right connection, you know, and they're 24, 26, and everything just falls into place. But that's generally not the case. You have to pay dues, and everything you end up accomplishing. I had to pay dues. I mean, my goodness. I started at UPS at 19. I was a night loader, unloading and loading trucks. 3 months later, I became a part-time supervisor because they recruited me to be that. That was a night job. I was going to college, getting 5 hours of sleep a day for like 3 years, right? It wasn't easy. And then finally, when I got through that piece of my life and I was being offered this job at Hewlett Packard, UPS offered me a full-time supervisor's job. And then I became a full-time supervisor. But here was the key thing. One thing I had as was intuitive to me was wanting to see who the best person in whatever that was I was doing, who was that person and why were they successful? And looking at that very, very critically and patterning my actions off what I saw that person doing. So it's kind of like looking at the best quarterback and saying, well, Mahomes is the best quarterback. Why? Why is he the best quarterback? And just watching film of this dude, like nonstop, sleeping and eating and just, and I would do that to whoever the best supervisor was. I wanted to know when I got promoted, who was the best supervisor? They'd say, well, Kellen's the best supervisor. I would ask Kellen to have a cup of coffee. Say, Kellen, you're known as the best supervisor here. Tell me why you believe that is. Why are you successful? And when I became a manager, same thing. I always looked at who number one was and why they were the best. And then obviously, as I became more experienced, I knew what the dimensions looked like. And, I didn't have to do it as intentionally as I did it when I was at 40, as I did when I was at 23. But the point is I worked for one purpose and one purpose alone. And that was understanding you can't hope to get more than you give. So if you want to be great at something, you need to give that something a lot of time, attention, and education. The point you made, accept that there will be sacrifice. If you have to drive Uber to make ends meet so that you can become a production studio owner, then do that. Don't have other people tell you you need to do that. When people have to start telling you that you need to do something, there is something wrong with that, okay? In order to make ends meet. So there's a lot of ways to be successful. But, at the end of the day, you have to decide how successful you want, how hard you want to work for that success. Let me say it that way.
When you talk about the education, foundation is everything. Sometimes it starts from homes, sometimes it doesn't. I noticed on your LinkedIn, you also went to San Jose State. And I mean, I got my uncle Taifa went to San Jose State. One of my pops, Benjamin Railroad, aka Meestrap, went to San Jose State. Were they just taking everybody at San Jose State if you could run fast or if you were black, or you had some hustle? Because all those folks had hustle in them. May rest in peace. But what was it about that era? Because they were around, that era about San Jose State, and where did your foundation come from in education?
Well, to that point, okay, so I grew up in East Oakland, right? I went to Stonehurst Elementary School. I went to middle school in East Oakland. I went to high school. I went to Berkeley High School. I didn't go to high school in East Oakland. But
He's
I went
fancy,
to
y'all. If he went to Berkeley back then, he's fancy. He
the reason I went to Berkeley High School when I was in the 10th grade was because my aunt went there, right? And my aunt was only a year older than me. So think about that. My mom and my grandmother both had children. I think my grandmother had my aunt when she was like 39 or something. And my mom had me when she was like 19. So there you go. So I had an aunt that was only like a year and a half older than me. So she was more like a sister. And in any event, she was at Berkeley High. And God rest her soul, she's passed away, but her name was Wendy. And she was like, come to Berkeley High, with me. Because I have an older brother who went to Castlemont. So anyway, I go to Berkeley High and I really got involved in the back then in those days, Kellen, you could take auto shop, wood shop, a trade. You could take a trade in high school. That when you graduated high school, you'd have a trade, right? You could do something like electronics, electrician. Anyway, I took the electrical cohort. And that's what got me involved in electronics and electrical. And so that's what led to me becoming an electrical engineer path. And San Jose State, being in Silicon Valley, for me, made sense because of that, right? I wanted to be an electrical engineer, and it was the best school for that study field at that time. And I could work and pay my tuition. Big difference. Like, you can't do that today, right? Like, I worked at McDonald's when I was started working there at like 16, and I worked at McDonald's all the way through high school. But when I went to San Jose State, there were a couple around the campus, obviously. So I was able to get a job, transfer myself from Oakland on Telegraph Ave to San Jose State, where McDonald's was down there, and live with my older brother, who's a year older than me. And that's how I was able to pay not only my rent, but my tuition as well. And that's how I ended up at San Jose State, because number one, it had what I wanted educationally, and I could afford to pay the tuition by working, in a fast food type job type thing. So that's how I ended up there. But it was a great experience. Now, there were a lot of Black students at San Jose State at the time, not in the late 70s, early 80s. There just wasn't a lot of Black students there at the time. Although there was a small cohort, at the end of the day, for mentorship and role modeling, and those things matter. They matter. So there was that, and that was important. But the campus was a great campus. It was a welcoming campus. I really enjoyed the time that I went to that school. But San Jose State, to me, has always been more inviting than many other university campuses in Southern or in Northern California. And I did visit like Fresno State. I visited, a couple other state schools, but I chose San Jose State for the reasons I just talked about.
And I just want to make sure people don't miss, you said a real jewel. And correct me if I'm wrong, the fact that maybe you graduated with no debt by working at McDonald's, which I'm like, how does the McDonald's worker pay tuition? You could put something on it, and then Sally Mae do the rest, but I don't care where you go almost. Is that correct, that McDonald's allowed you to leave college debt free?
So when I went to San Jose State, it didn't look like today. It's a state school, but I would go to the student services window every week, right? And my tuition, my financial responsibility was $63 a week or something like that I had to pay, which I did. Now, that being said, I worked at IBM after I started as a freshman at San Jose State working at McDonald's. Okay. By January of my freshman year, I had been recruited by IBM to be a lab technician. Okay. And because I was an engineering student. So I got recruited by them as an intern to be a lab tech, because back in those days, in the late 70s, there wasn't Silicon Valley. It was more Transistor Valley, right? It was just emerging. There was no Apple. There was no Microsoft giant. The giant was IBM. Google and all those companies didn't start to emerge till much later. Although they were founded in the 70s, they didn't become giants till 20 years from that. In any event, when I started working at IBM, they were paying me $5.65 an hour to start. True statement. $5. Okay. If you look at the economics of the time, that $5.65, Kellen, in 1976 was like making $40 an hour today. An equivalent. Wow. And when I started working at UPS, same thing. I was making $5-6 an hour. That was the equivalent to making like $35 an hour today. So I was literally paying my tuition from my pay, my part-time job, right? Bottom line. And so I didn't have loans. Never took out one loan. I was completely debt-free when I graduated from college. I just paid my way through, because as my life improved from the time I was 18 to 22, right? I got promoted as a part-time supervisor when I was 19. Okay. My salary went up from being a loader, at $5.65 an hour, et cetera. Right. So I got it. So the point that you're asking is, yes, I was able to work and pay my tuition on a weekly basis at the student services window in a very disciplined kind of way. And I left college with no debt. I had no debt.
That is amazing to hear, and it just shows how, I remember hearing, back in the day, 80s, 90s, man, one day they're gonna charge us for air, and then they started charging for air not shortly after. And, at the gas station, and I had to hear like, oh, this used to be free. And it's like, oh, you gotta go make some money. And I know, your son, who is the physician, because I'm married to medicine, so I know what that takes. And when I hear people say, doctors make too much money, I say, you don't know what doctors put in the 80 to 100 hours, and then having to take, very few people can pay for that cash. Only thing I disagree with Dave Ramsey. Yeah, can you do it? Yeah, but you got to go to the military or have somebody who has money. It's just amazing. And that shows where we are. Because if we were smart country, we'd say, hey, certain professions like teachers and doctors, your tuition is free, because we need you. Unlike some. So can you tell us, with the book, are you on a speaking tour? How can people book you? Because that's why you create the book, so you can speak more, after you do the book and get it out. So where can people find you and request you? And you guys better not come with no lowball offers from this. I know most of y'all are listeners.
Okay, so directly right now, for the next 24 hours, my website is not active because it's actually it's under maintenance right now. It's being worked on by a company that I've hired to do a couple of things on the security side of the table. But that being said, my website, noelmassie.com. It's easy. It's my name in one word, NOELMASSIE.com, lowercase, is my website. You go to my website, you'll see my Instagram, you'll see my TikTok, you'll see my LinkedIn, you'll see all of those links are attached to the website. You'll see the opportunity to buy the book if you wish. If you buy more than one, you get a discount for volume. And companies right now, few companies, 3 actually, to be more direct, have actually licensed themselves to use my book as their training foundation, right? So the CEOs read the book. They've known me from other aspects of my life. I've sat on a whole bunch of different civic organizational type things. I was chairman of the board of the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce. I've sat on business roundtables over the last 30-something years. So a network of CEOs and presidents who just know me. And so when they saw that I wrote the book, a couple of them bought it, read it, liked it, loved it, said, hey, Noel, I'd like to use your foundation in my company, blah, blah, blah. So we worked through the parameters of that. But now, having said that, I just did a seminar in Chicago for over 30 attorneys that work for the Office of the Inspector General, which is run by the district attorney. And he wanted his 30-something lead attorneys to go through this leadership training. And so he bought 100 books. You buy 100 books, I will teach a one-day seminar as part of that purchase. I taught the one-day seminar for his team, got some great reviews. Those are on my website to read. And the book reviews are on my website to read. You can see it's been received. Really, to be honest with you, it's exceeded my wildest expectations, Kellen. I've gotten some great reviews, book reviews from people that have read the book. I get them pretty much daily now. The book's been out 4 months, but from individuals who say that the book has helped them dramatically in their approach to leadership. And that's really why I wrote the book. If I just hear that once, it made it worth it to me. Candidly, it took me 4 years to write the book. But that being said, the reviews, individuals can read those. But on my website, all of the parameters in terms of, I do a webinar. If you buy 50 books or more, I'll do a 2-hour webinar as a result of that particular purchase. If you buy a bulk offer, if you buy 100 books or more, I'll do a seminar all day. And then right now I'm under a couple of NDAs with a couple of companies that I'm consulting their leadership development teams on. Actually, I have a meeting like that today with this one organization that is engaged with the platform. So they can find me on my website, my assistant's name. And actually, she happens to be my niece, and she's a marketing specialist, and she's a pretty amazing person. Her name is Kayla, Kaylah, and she can be reached at Kayla at noelmassie.com. Reaches Kayla, and she'll get back to anyone at any time on their particular needs, and we will configure a solution for them in terms of books, seminars, whatever. And I actually have a couple of book signings that I'm doing in Los Angeles. One in December, late December, and then one in January.
That's beautiful. And again, by the time this is up, the website should be back up. So you guys go check it out. The links are in the description. And if you guys want and need help with the website and you don't have money, reach out to us for the info in the description, because there's ways AI can make your website in less than 2 minutes, and then you can add on. Anybody can do it. A 7-year-old could do it. Mr. Massie, I sent it to you as well in your Instagram. You'll see it. But I know you have a team in case for your next business or your next venture, because we build websites. We're a full service firm. But I tell people, save some money for under $200. You can have a site up. You need an app.
That's right.
For under $1,000 now. If you are technical, even a little bit, un poco, you can get that app going and put it on the Play Store. And if you need help, we can charge you a good amount of money, but it's a fair amount of money for the time is. It's no longer where you need 20,000, 50,000. Got to go talk to a VC or an angel investor. But I'd like to know, and this is for those of us who are thinking we're fully funding our 401ks for the last decades or almost 2. And how is retirement? Are you bored yet? Besides the what else do you do in retirement? Because we always hear that, if you retire, you'll die. And I'm like, not the people I know who are 80 plus years old, chilling in Mexico, in Kenya, in South Africa, to South Africa. But how is that? Tell us, how are you enjoying retirement and some steps so when we get there, we know we're not going to die. And it's actually sweeter maybe on that side than it is working like a Hebrew slave, like my mother used to say.
Well, yeah, no doubt about it. I already talked about when you have a career, love what you do. That way you want to do what you do, no matter what it is that you do. I happen to love engaging with people, so that's why leadership was a thing for me early in my career. And what's ironic to me about that, when I've done seminars with 30-somethings and below, and I go, so who in here is average? Raise your hand if you want to be average. Nobody raises their hand. Okay, nobody, right? I say, okay, so who sees themselves as a leader in the things, and then everybody raises their hand, because the fact of the matter is that if you have children, that's leadership. If you're a parent, that's leadership. If you coach a little league, that's leadership. If you're on a PTA, that's leadership. So the point of the matter is that you can seek leadership opportunities through your life, and then they can translate to after you lead whatever it is profession. You'll never stop is the point. Okay, you never really stop. So when I left UPS after 42 years, it was the toughest thing I ever did. Why? Because I loved what I was doing. Okay, I did not retire and go, phew, now I'm glad that's over. That wasn't the way it was for me. Okay, I didn't have days that I didn't want to have when it came to what I did for a living. I didn't have bad days. I had tough days, long days, and hard days. But as a leader, I didn't have a bad day because I wanted to be what I was doing. That's important. That's why I say it the way I say it. It's not cliche. It's not copybook. That's real. But now beyond that, in retirement, I knew I was going to write the book. I started ideating the book about 7 years before I actually left the organization. I had the understanding from an organizational perspective, if you're going to do something, if you're not going to do it right, don't do it, period. Okay. Until you're going to do it right, don't attempt doing it. So the fact of the matter is, as I started ideating the book, I started doing research on book coaches, book editors, all of those kinds of things. So I'd be directionally set. I have a great team I've been working with now for 4 years. My book coach, Mary Curran Hackett, lives in Cincinnati. My web developer, Blake Pinto, he lives here in Chicago, which is where I actually live. and we've been together for 4 years. And my publisher is in Nashville, I have a great team around me in terms of what I need from those. But I ideated that plan before I left. Is the point to all of that. So that once I did, I created the next chapter of opportunities that I wanted to pursue. And writing the book was foundational to that. So I spent time doing that. Now, having said that, because I was chairman of the board of the Chamber of Commerce in Los Angeles, I sit on the Los Angeles Urban League Board of Directors. I was chairman of the Los Angeles Urban League for 9 years. I actually ended up getting the Whitney M. Young Award, which is one of the highest honors that they can bestow on someone. I'm very proud of that. I joined the list of people who got that award, like Irvin Johnson, who happens to be a friend of mine, actually, not to name drop, but he's very involved in the community in Los Angeles, which is why I know him. I was the president for UPS in Southern California. That's how we met. He came to me and asked for some service support during a disaster in Houston, and I was able to provide that. And he was very close to the Black community in LA with the Urban League, and I was the chairman. So over a number of years, we became very engaged with each other's stuff. Now, having said that, I mentioned how many business roundtables I sat on. So the point is I never saw me leaving UPS and having this vacuum that, as a matter of fact, I had to beat people off me once I retired. They're like, "Oh, no, you're retired. Come help us, do this, do that." I had people hitting me up left and right. And I was like, nope, I got to manage those expectations because I want to write this book. And I had to manage them. Now, at the same time, my wife and I travel. As a matter of fact, this Friday, we're flying to Italy. We're going to be in Italy for a week, okay? In September, we went to Amsterdam in the Netherlands. We were there for like 10 days, right? So it's about balance, right? It's about not allowing yourself to be dictated to, but dictating what you want things to be. And I'm pretty good at that. Having worked in a corporate career for as many years, I had to be really good at balancing time. Minutes matter. Minutes matter. And I would say that to people. Okay, minutes matter. You can get accomplished a lot in 2 minutes if you want to. Okay, so that didn't change for me, candidly, after I retired. And I created.
Wait, Mr. Noel, Mr. Noel, I need them to replay that. He said a lot can be done in 2 minutes. Some of y'all are here because of 2 minutes. A lot can be done in 2 minutes. A lot. Don't despise those small beginnings. 2 minutes can get a lot. And if you don't know what I mean that you're here, go ask your mother or your father if they're still blessed. A lot can be done in 2 minutes. My question, though, this is a chilling question that only I would ask you. Why only a week? You're retired. What are you rushing back for? To Venetia to Sicily is, a month of Yeah, so you're right. I agree with that. I mean, however, Thanksgiving's coming, right? So we're trying to squeeze this in before the Thanksgiving holiday, right? Thanksgiving in Italy. Y'all come see us. It's a new experience, okay. Got it. The holiday time. Okay. So in any event, that's how that rolls. I mean, when I look at you, and you're an excellent example in my mind of having to create the platform you're using. It didn't just that you ideated it. You said, I wanted to do it. You began to do it. You learned how to do it, because what you can't read, what you can't teach is experience, period. Okay, you get experience. And once you get experience and you build on that platform, so failure is a big part of learning. And once you learn those things, then they become value-based, and you attach yourself to them because of those reasons. And you're a great example of how success looks by applying yourself to something on a consistent basis. And you're right. You work in a business where 2 minutes is huge. Yeah. And I'll say this. I thank God for what he put in me. I thank my wife. I thank my team members, even the ones who helped me put this together, because I begged them for 2 years, like, let's do a podcast together. But they even put this mug together for me. And when my hair was longer, now you guys know.
Nice.
Yeah, you guys know I got kids by my hairline, and I'm not afraid to say I earned it. But that is, yeah, I thank God for the team that is still around me that helps me put all this together. So yeah, I'm just a product of, work. And if you fail, it's not a fail, it's just a fall. Get back up. But we get to see people like you. So I'm really imagining, okay, me and my wife will be in Italy, but I ain't doing a week. We don't do a week now. And we got little, I need more than a week anywhere I go. And I'm big on Africa. I'm big on Africa because of some investments I have out there, and just the way Africa's always treated me. But yeah, I can't wait. What part of Italy are you going? Just so when people see the next book, you might write a book just on this trip.
Well, yeah, we're doing we're going to the Tuscany region. Okay.
Oh,
To be candid. So we're going to the Tuscany region, which we're going to spend a few days in this one area. And forgive me for not being able to speak Italian and say it correctly, but the Cortona region. Then we're going to Florence for a few days, and we're going to do a few days in Rome. So we're going to be there for, we're investing entirety of like 9 days, because travel is 2, whatever. But we're on the ground there for like 7 and a half or 8, whatever. Right. So we're going to that region of Italy. And we've never been to this particular area. We've done a lot of travel. So we're looking, forward. We're really looking forward to it.
okay. I can't wait. I can't wait. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Let the people know where they can find you. Let the people know from here to Italy. Rome has a great Cameroonian restaurant. I'm just gonna say it's beautifully done. 2 levels. When you're in Rome, you Google, it's a beautiful Cameroonian restaurant, one of the best I've seen in the world.
Writing that down. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I sent you something on IG, LinkedIn. I followed you, but it told me I didn't have the right email, and I'm like, I got his professional email, so it didn't let me add you. But I followed you. But yeah, great Cameroonian spot if you want something different in the heart of Rome, because you'll eat pasta all day, and pasta is great when you're in Rome. So is the cheap wine, but a different cuisine at this restaurant. I could definitely give you the name.
So to answer the question, so my LinkedIn is not attached to Noel at noelmassie.com. It's actually the Gmail address that I had prior when I set it up, which is Noel, Noel, middle initial L, BASS, because I play the bass guitar. Noel L bass at gmail.com. That'll get an invite to me directly, right? And we're actually working on correcting that functionality, because I have, quite a few followers on LinkedIn. But the book looks like this. And I'm going to send you a signed copy of this book. Kellen, just send me your destination address, right? But congrats, you've been promoted. You can find me at noelmassie.com. Again, I have an Instagram. On my website, you'll see my Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, all of the typical social media handles are there. And we can connect. And there's obviously a contact form attached to the website if you wanted to reach out for me directly, where my assistant, Kayla, Kaylah Bozeman, Bozman, is her name. And her information is on the website. Her email is on the website in order to set up a discussion so your people can reach me that way as well.
Well, that sounds good. That email worked for me. So you have my address, and also have it sent as an email. I thank you for your time. I thank the audience for making it through. I know most of you are listeners, whether you're driving or you're at work and you're trying to level up. Thank you.